What's good, people? Hope you're good. Welcome back to the show. Absolutely delighted to be back because international football is done. And I thought it would be good for my mental health not seeing Arsenal and stressing over that. But that guy in a waistcoat's doing my brains in for England, man. I can't tell you how annoying this guy is, having to watch Harry Maguire and Eric Dyers at the back and people like that. No, man, let's just move on from that. Good to see Lee back. Obviously, I'm your host tonight, Dan Potts. And we have a very special guest, Michael Bridge from Sky Sports. Michael, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How you guys all right?
Listen, we're all good, man. We're all good. Listen, we are going to get into it, but before we do that, we're going to throw out a clip out there. BetVictor is deciding who is the better striker, Erling Haaland or Harry Kane. Play the clip, Dave.
I'm sorry, man. There's a new striker king in town, and it is Erling Haaland. I'm sorry, bro. We can't keep sitting here going, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if my auntie have... Like, she's, at the end of the day, Erling Haaland is scoring goals for fun, no matter what the competition is, no matter who the opposition is, no matter where the ball is, what angle. Like, he's a freak of nature, bro. And also, Harry Kane isn't the Harry Kane of a couple seasons ago.
No, he's got 5 and 6 since the start of the season. Let's not.
Yeah, Haaland's got 13 and 8. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know,
bro, I'm taking Erling Haaland over Harry Kane.
8-game sample. I've
just got to make the case because I think it's fair to say that I'm not gonna fall over Harry Kane as an England fan. I love him more than most people as well, but I think Harry Kane at the moment is a better player, a better footballer. He's achieved more. He's sustained his career at a very world class level for 5 years.
He just hasn't.
But but let me finish. Sorry, but ultimately Haaland, I think, is probably a better striker. I think Haaland's probably a better finisher than Harry Kane, and that is saying a lot because Harry Kane's top 3 finishers in world football.
So why did Pep Guardiola want him in ahead of Haaland?
It was just down to timing. I think Kane was available at the time, at a certain price. Or he was available because it would have happened for 150 million quid. You should have sold him for that, really, and you didn't get the money.
We never got the offer.
And now you've got a guy who's going to head into his 30s and win nothing at your club. Haaland is just a little bit further along in his career now. It worked out timing-wise. And he's got 13 and 8. He's got 26 goals in 20 Champions League appearances at the age of, 22. It's surreal. And Harry Kane would never get those kind of numbers at any club. He's a better finisher at the moment, in my opinion. He's more aggressive in the air. Harry Kane's a linking play up. I know he's dropping deeper. I think you have to say Haaland's a better striker at the moment.
Love it, man. Love it. Do you know what I love? Is like Flav is crying into his Kleenex.
Do you know Flav, Michael?
Huh?
Do you know Flav?
No, I've not actually met him. I know of him, but what the heck? Why is everyone so angry in that clip? It's
the way it is. It's the way it is.
If City want Kane can stay at Tottenham, no problem. But what the bloody hell? The anger. Goodness me.
Yeah,
I think they're right. I think they're right what they're saying. I think Harry Kane's probably a better footballer. Well, he is a better footballer. I think Harry Kane all round is a better footballer. But I think as a striker, he's just an animal, this kid, isn't he?
Oh, unbelievable. But I mean, that 2 years ago, Lee, Kane won Golden Boot and the Playmaker. He had 2 Premier League awards. And when he gets a bit older and he'll get a few more injuries, I can genuinely see him moving back. His passing is something else. And look, people can have a pop at him as much as they like. He's going to break records, and we can bang on about trophies. Yes, he's trying to get trophies, but in terms of Haaland, it's been an incredible start. We always knew he'd probably be a success, but eye-watering numbers. And for me, he could be the difference, and he should be the difference between City winning the Champions League, because I think they'd have won the league anyway. But they should really be a disappointing season if they don't win the Champions League. They look like they've got everything now.
Would you think that Harry Kane would have, if Harry Kane, like Perish the fault for you, like would have gone to Tottenham to Man City? Do you think? I think he'd have hit those numbers what Haaland's hitting as well.
100%, Lee. Honestly, and look, I was stunned that City originally went for Grealish, paid the 100 million because Villa, I know for a fact, didn't think that release clause was going to be met. Yeah. And it did. And then they were playing silly beggars with Tottenham all summer. And then people saying all the time, why don't Tottenham just accept? Would you sell a fillet steak for £1.50? Every player has got a value. So, but the good news is, Kane is very happy now. And look, Tottenham a year ago, last summer, Nuno Espirito Santo, no wonder he wanted to move on. Look, some things could have been done better by all parties. But it really is consigned to history now. And yeah, Kane would have won stuff there. There's no doubt about it. But it's history now, and Haaland's going to win loads there. And hey, Kane is still going to have a good season for Tottenham. I'm sure about that.
I think personally, between the two, if you're asking who's the better striker, I think it's Haaland. If you're asking who's the better all-round, I think Harry Kane does a lot more in terms of his all-round play. But since this guy's come to the league, he's not shocked me because he was doing this over in Dortmund. He was doing it in the Champions League. Yeah. And I think, like you said, Mark, to me off air, I think this has just made City done and dusted for the league. This guy, if he stays fit, that is, this guy is going to get an unbelievable amount of goals in all competitions, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be a miserable git, but I had an email today saying, could you give me your combined Tottenham and Arsenal team? And I just thought, why? I hate
that. I hate it.
There are some debates in football I'll never ever understand.
Yeah.
Why? They always everyone. I saw someone today rowing about Ramsdale or Lloris. Who cares? There's so many other things we can debate about. Great football debates, combined teams, north, east, south. Blah. Never going to happen. It's
funny, actually. It's funny you say that. Sorry, Lee. Let me just come in because it's funny you say that because I run a channel which is Premier League football content, and literally they're like, right, when we're doing these combined 11s, and I hate combined 11s. I can't stand them. Right, but I do it because the viewers like it, and people say, "Oh, we want to see a combined 11." Okay, that's fine. But I did one today on one of my streams, and I put three Tottenham players in. And then the Arsenal fans, how the hell are you putting them in? Whoa, because they're good players, man. Like, what, Kane and Son are not good, and Romero? Like, come on, man. Like, it's mad. So I think there's this massive hatred when you go for one Tottenham player over another. You're not allowed to, like, it's like Tottenham can't compliment Arsenal players, and Arsenal players can't compliment Tottenham players. Actually, we're all football people. We understand a good player when we see one. And when you debate Haaland or Kane, I think it's fair because I think both of them have got unbelievable attributes. What you can't do, it's a bit like the Ronaldo and Messi thing. You can't say one of them's rubbish compared to the other one. That's what you can't do. Do you know what I mean? Like when you say...
And that's all I was just going. You're so right there. Wouldn't it be interesting if they were both English? What would the manager have to try and get both of them in? Which I think he could do because Kane could drop in. But if he could only put one in, it would be a real difficult conundrum. I think, I think you could probably play both because Harry Kane can drop. But
could do,
that is a proper debate. That I have to say that, I mean, this picking one, I'm with you on this, even like the Ramsdale, Lloris, there ain't a lot in it. You know what I mean? One's experience, one's up and coming.
There's not a lot in it with many of them, and I see a lot of people in the chat.
I think it's 100%. I think it's really close.
It's really close, man. A lot of people in the chat today, I didn't see it, but apparently Turkish has picked Kulusevski ahead of Saka. And everyone's
we're not talking to him at the moment.
Yeah, is that what it is? They're not talking. But do you not think that one is close though, Lee? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, I love Saka, but this Kulusevski kid, he ain't no mug, man. Like,
and this is where we had this argument yesterday in the opposite studio. This is where this has all come from, and the stats are different. Forget the stats. They play two different roles. You know what I mean? When Saka gets the ball, he has two players on him, and people are dropping deep. When Kulusevski gets the ball, he's playing on a counter attack, so he's probably playing 3 against 3, and he plays it well. But ultimately, you can't go on stats. Oh, he's done this and done that. Every time Saka gets the ball, there's 2 players on him straight away. Like, it's different for Tottenham because they suck you in and hit you on the break. So it's a different. You can't compare. You can't compare. This is what I'm saying about things. When you have a debate, and let's be honest about a genuine Spurs Arsenal debate, right? Right, let's do a 1-11. Well, the first argument is what formation you're going to have because they have 2 different formations.
Exactly.
It can't be done because in the formation that suits for Tottenham, in the formation it suits for Arsenal for Saka. So it's a no-go one. And like people, listen, for me, I think Spurs fans like to have a little dig at it because Saka's our golden boy. He is the main man. I think Saka, by the way, is just an unbelievable player. I've got to say that. I don't think many players can do what he done on Monday night. Just come on and turn a game like he did.
He's dislodged Foden now, hasn't he, for the England 11?
I think, massively. I think that sometimes, I remember a manager saying to me this. I got left out one time, and he said sometimes it's good if you're not playing because it highlights you'll miss it. I think that by him not playing in that first sort of 70 minutes, highlighted it, and when he come on, he done what he done. It's done and dusted now.
Well, I'd also argue that you could maybe have Ramsdale as a number 2 goalie now and Pope down to 3 because Pope
great point, Michael. Great point. Yeah, I think probably that's the case now. So that's a great point.
What is also amazing is what a compliment that is that Saka has dislodged Phil Foden, who's no mug. Into the England side. What a compliment that is. This kid, I know he went through a lot with the last Euros, and everyone was talking about his penalty miss and all that. But you look at it now, what this kid has done, and he comes on there as a sub, and for me changes the game completely. And Mount, to be fair, he deserves a lot of credit because I thought both of them did well when they came on. But I think Saka's more explosive than Kulusevski. I think he's done it longer for Arsenal. People forget that Kulusevski, he might not have done it at Tottenham for as long as Saka's done it at Arsenal, but he did do it at Juve. That's why they bought him, because he was obviously showing something over there. Don't think he was playing as much, if I'm honest. I think he was more of a squad player, which is why I think he left. But what a player, by the way, Kulusevski is. I don't think we can...
Well, Allegri's on the brink of the sack at Juve. What happened was that Tottenham had agreed a fee for Luis Diaz, and then in 4 a.m. Liverpool had agreed a fee, and he goes to Liverpool. And later that day, Spurs then agreed a deal with Juve for Kulusevski. Now, I'm going to hold my hand up, lads, and say this looked to me like a last-minute Fabio Paratici favour from Juve, and Spurs are getting someone last minute. I'm actually delighted that Tottenham have got him now. He just suits Tottenham. He suits Son. He suits Kane. And he plays on the right, but he's left-footed. And no fullback has sussed him out yet. They hate playing against him. It's... He's been some signing, and Benton.
Michael, do you think that's actually worked out better having him over Luis Diaz? Yeah, I do. I do as well.
And before anyone in the comments says, "Oh, Diaz is better," I don't care whether he is or isn't. I'm just saying for Tottenham, Kulusevski, and
I agree.
I said on deadline day on Sky, I challenged Tottenham, Arsenal, Man United, and West Ham to go and get someone on deadline day, and Tottenham got 2, Bentancur as well. And that's what you looked at near the end of the season. When you came to our place, the forward line beat, what's going on? You've got to look at it. And, West Ham, and they had Antonio. They're playing in Europe Thursday, Sunday. You've got to strengthen in January. January is really important as well. So, he's proved to be a massive success.
That got you top 4, those two.
I think it did because if you look at that, Manchester United were in the running for top 4. Arsenal, West Ham and Tottenham. 3 of those teams didn't get anybody in January. Yeah. One team did, and that was a difference. And I have to say a big difference. And Diaz is probably a good player, but again, he plays in a different position, different role, same position, but a different role. I think you have to, horses for courses, and I think that he has. Listen, I think he's been brilliant for. And is it guaranteed that can he go back to Juventus, or is it a done deal with Tom?
There's 2 ways it could be done. It can be done on appearances, and I think in terms of time, it's one of those where he's going to be a Tottenham player.
He's going to stay.
Yeah,
I think you get a lot of these.
That's a shame.
Obligations, but I think look, at the end of the day, recruitment, and we talked about it. Arsenal have spent quite a bit over the last couple of summers, but as you know, Lee, I spoke to Edu, didn't I, in Orlando, and he was very interested in saying, people think that Zinchenko was just something we thought about for the last couple of weeks. No, he said they'd thought about it for like 9 or 10 months. Jesus was a year into thinking. And he said they've already got plans for next summer. And I believed him. I genuinely believe what he was saying. So the whole football landscape has changed. The director of football was nearly as important as the manager. You've got to have that structure right, managers and recruitment, and that will be the difference between success and not getting success with these clubs this year. Because you look at Chelsea, spent $250 million. They've lost their manager, and I still don't think they look completely the real deal. But a team should be, shouldn't they? £250 million,
Just give us a little bit of background onto this, because this is how me and Michael met, out in Orlando, obviously, he's a Spurs fan, covering the Arsenal content out there and that, and he said, "Oh, do you want to have a beer?" So I thought, I'll take one off a Spurs fan. That's how we got to know each other.
I will get one back off him during the season. Of
course, man. Listen, and if you don't, let me know. Yeah,
it's funny, right? Because I didn't tell Lee this, but I might have done. I can't remember. But anyway, because I was in one of the Irish bars before the Orlando game in the midweek, And I think you and Robbie might have passed it very quickly, and you went to another pub, and you were outside, and I was about to do an interview, and this bloke said to you, "That guy from Sky, he's a Spurs fan." I can't believe what I'm seeing like that. And you're nodding away laughing. I'm like, because I saw Robbie later that day, and like you, because you saw Edu that night, and he gave you a hug and everything like that. So
yeah.
It was so funny, the reaction. But I've got to say, everyone out there was great. Really, really nice.
Yeah, like he's and like I have to say, he's a top guy. Like, we had a good laugh, didn't we? And we had a good. Actually, like Robbie had a bit of banter with you, like about it, and like because like the guys were coming around all the sort of things that we was doing as well. Like, we were going, here comes a Spurs fan.
Well, do you know what? It's great because you look at it now and the progression, you like the likes of yourself and Robbie have made that you're in the media room, you're asking questions. Not just myself
incredible.
or Darren Lewis. You've got people from the team asking questions, and that's what Flex does with Manchester United. He paid the money, went to Australia, and that's what's important. Fan engagement like that. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's great to see, and it's good to see the connect. And to be fair to the management and the new regime, I think that has definitely improved 100%, particularly within the fan base at the grounds as well. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most this weekend. It's going to be absolutely buzzing in this atmosphere of this North London derby. But I've got to ask you, right, both of you, there was this is like another debate which I thought was mad. I just want to touch on this very quickly. Man United derby, the Manchester derby and the North London derby is obviously this weekend. And they're trying to compare the two, saying which one's better, which one's more. I don't really understand how anyone can sit there and tell me the Manchester derby is massive. Because when Arsenal and Man United were winning stuff, Arsenal and Spurs, who, Spurs weren't winning stuff, was still massive.
Yeah.
Manchester United were winning stuff, and Manchester City were playing Oldham Athletic in Division 2. How is that a massive derby? Like, these two have always been, in the last, 10, 15 years, even more so, fighting for a Champions League for most of the era that most of the kind of youngsters will remember. So that's made it a lot bigger. For me, when I look at it, Manchester United and Man City might be great now because Man City have started to become title-winning sides. But over the years, they weren't even in the same division. So, I don't know. For me, it's always been the North London derby. I think that just gives a little bit more to it. But, Lee, what's your thoughts, man?
Well, my thoughts on it is it's not being biased and all that. Like, Liverpool will Man United will turn around and say that their biggest rivals are Man United. Liverpool will say that their biggest rivals are Liverpool, like Man United, whatever it is. It's not Liverpool versus Everton, not Man City versus Man United. I don't care whatever everybody says. When we was going toe to toe with Manchester United, the first fixture I look for is Arsenal home, Tottenham away. Always has been and always will be. Not only that, I think that Spurs would say the same. It's always Arsenal and Spurs. The other side, they're bloody entertaining games. If you have a look all the way through, there's never really that
goals galore, mate. Goals galore.
A real dull. Can you remember the last one? I can't remember a dull 0-0.
No, Lee. Honestly, look, people can argue. Look, people. If a Liverpool fan was here now, he'd disagree with us because he's a Liverpool fan and it means more to him. There's one debate I will never debate, and sorry, this is arrogant, but Tottenham Arsenal is the best game in the Premier League by a mile, and I think it's potentially the highest, if not one of the highest scoring games. I mean, they are just such fantastic games. We can laugh about atmosphere, but Emirates is always rocking, and it will on Saturday. The problem, I'm from Enfield, North London, so for me, you're either an Arsenal fan or a Tottenham fan. So it means more to me than anything, that game. And I've got a load of Arsenal fans like yourselves. You've got Tottenham fans, but the funny thing is with Tottenham, and I've asked Lampard and Terry this when I've interviewed them, they can't give me the answer. Chelsea hate Tottenham. They sing, like when I go there as a neutral, they sing about Tottenham the whole game. I've asked Chelsea fans, I said, why don't you not hate Arsenal? They're like, I don't know. They don't give me I don't get an answer off anyone. West Ham, like proper hatred for Tottenham, like real hatred. But again, I don't get it. It might be an Essex thing in West Ham, Tottenham. I don't know. But Chelsea Spurs is always a really fierce one. Obviously, it's got a bit worse with the Battle of the Bridge. But like I asked Terry once at a golf event, I said, John, I saw an interview the other day, so there's only one club you'd never managed, and that's Tottenham. And I said, well, Arsenal and Chelsea dominated on the pitch in the zeros. Like, why? He said, I can't answer it. It's always been Tottenham for us because they come out to liquidate and they go, we hate Tottenham, Chelsea. So the year they finished 10th, and they stopped us. Well, they say they stopped us winning the league. They didn't really, because we drew at home to West Brom the week before. But anyway, they gave everything, blood, sweat, and tears, and they finished 10th. And Hazard, and we're all celebrating. And then they tweet the next day, we drew the derby. But I don't, as fans, I get the rivalry, but nothing comes close to the North London derby. For me, nothing. I was on holiday last week, and I'm writing down like the Arsenal players who are at home and the Tottenham players. I sound like a right nerd here, everyone. But like the ones who are on international duty. It's a local thing, but for me, is the best game in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Bar none.
And I don't care what anybody says. Like, I want Chelsea to win 2 games a season. I want Manchester United to win 2 games a season. You know what I mean? Like, and that's against Spurs. It's the way it is.
Do you know what I mean? Like the Chelsea, the Chelsea Arsenal don't have that kind of hatred.
No, we hate them because for whatever. Yeah. I don't. It's like, they all want to. Like you think, no, you can't hate Tottenham like we do. You know what I mean? It's a special thing, isn't it? Like, And I'll be honest, if we lose to Chelsea, I don't like it.
No,
I don't like losing to West Ham, but it don't hurt as much as when we lose to Tottenham. That hurts. It cuts deep. I'm still hurting from whenever it was. What was it? May, beginning of May? Was it? I'm still hurting. You know what I mean? No other team does that to me. No other team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And do you know what I mean? Like the best way to round this off, right? Manchester City and Man United apparently are rivals. Yet if you ask a Man United side, who would you rather win the league? They'll say Man City over Liverpool.
Exactly.
So how can you say they're driving?
Brilliant point. I don't I want anyone but Tottenham, and that's not nothing. That's how it is. That's how we're brought up. I don't, West Ham. I'm happy. Like when Chelsea and Spurs are playing in the semi-final, I want Chelsea to win. Chelsea playing Spurs in the final a couple of years ago, I wanted Chelsea to win.
Yeah. Well, I wanted Chelsea to win that Europa League final against you, and that's
the way it is.
Really, but
it's always that. It's always that. Every time Arsenal and Tottenham get to a final, their rivals would always want them to lose. That's the way it is, man. But North London derby for me.
Yeah, it's a brilliant game, and I'm sure it'll be a really good game. Saturday.
I think it will be. I think it'll be a good game. They're always good games, though. Like they're always good games, though.
100% they are, and I think we're going to see a cracker this weekend. I really do. And I wanted to ask you, Michael, like we're going to get back into the managers now, and I think I spoke to you a little bit off air, and Lee knows my thoughts on Antonio Conte. I was gutted when he went to you guys. I really wanted him at our club. I thought he was exactly what we needed, someone who was going to win now, not in 5 or 6 years' time. And straight away, he showed what he was going to do. That in one window, he can get into the Champions League. Now, we've got 6 windows in, and we're still trying to get into the Champions League. So for me, I think he's done a wonderful job. Now, I don't look at that Tottenham side and think, wow, but I certainly look at that Tottenham side and think, they're hard to beat now, and it's because of that guy. Now, I understand the signings have come in since then, and I do think Bentancur and Kulusevski straight away improved you. I also think you've had a very good window. I think the Richarlison signing is going to come in and give some strength in depth. I also think Basuma will do that, and I think Jed Spence and Perisic are going to do exactly that on your fullback sides as well. I do think there's a couple of gaps there, but let's be honest, there still is in the Arsenal setup as well. But what has been your thoughts on this guy, and do you have confidence that he can win you something this year?
Dan, I think he's just brilliant. I mean, he turned the club around. I mean, last year, I know everyone banged on about the photographer doing the team talk against Tottenham. Gunnosaurus could have done it and beaten Tottenham because it was just a poor Tottenham side. You deserve to win. You deserve to win by more than 3-1. We had a manager who just left Wolves. A nice guy, but God knows how he got that job. I know Tottenham wanted Conte that summer, but he just wanted a bit of time off. He calls himself a serial winner, and if he is, you can say it. He took over the club in 9th. He can be a bit volatile sometimes, but he said that as well. Like, he gets the players get up for that, and they have. And they ended up finishing in the top 4. And he's done a fantastic job. And people say, "Well, is he long term?" What's long term in football anymore? What is it? 2 years, 3 years? I'm here for the now. Kane's 29, Son's hitting 30. This is about now, and. I'm not going to mention, start winding up or anything, but for to Tottenham to dislodge Arsenal at that late stage of the season, I thought they'd left it too late, but I can't believe they got that top four in the end. And it really is all down to Antonio Conte. And, you're right, Dan, they are hard to beat and they've not lost yet this season. They got the draw at Chelsea, got the draw at West Ham. So if you can't win, make sure you don't lose. And that kind of, and that kind of soft Spurs under Conte has gone. However, I think Saturday is going to be the hardest fixture for Tottenham this season by a country mile for a million reasons. And on the flip side, I like Mikel Arteta. I'm actually with him tomorrow. Actually, I'm doing his press conference tomorrow, and look, this is a big season for him because you've had a really good start. But I think, as people have said, it won't matter unless you do end up in the top four. So it is still very, very early days. But in terms of Conte, Spurs have got a belting manager, an absolute world-class manager. I wouldn't swap him with many. I could count on one hand who I'd swap him with. He's been that good for the football club. He's turned them upside down. He really has.
Yeah, I think he's been wonderful. Judges, I want to ask you this, right? We've played some good Tottenham teams. That we can't lie, we have. But Premier League-wise, I know Pochettino did a great job, but Conte, for me, is the best manager they've had in the Premier League, for me, by a mile. Absolute country mile. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, I honestly, I think that team that Pochettino took pre-Wembley, when I've been going Tottenham quite a few times going over there, they beat us 2-0. It should have been about 6 or 7 if it weren't for Petr Cech that day.
Yeah,
and I walked out of that ground and saying, my God, that's the best Spurs team I've seen for a very, very long while. Good for us, Dan, that as the next season they went to Wembley and they didn't spend enough money. I don't think they really backed Pochettino the way they should have done. To go through the whole of that season at Wembley with no money on the back of what he'd done at Spurs at White Hart Lane last season was whoever made those decisions. Thank you. Because I think if they would have just pushed them a little bit more, I think Spurs were a really good side at that
But I agree with that. I think the side was better than now, but it's the manager. So what I'm saying is Conte with that team, wow, that would have been scary for me.
Yeah, I'll say that. But listen, let's get it right about Conte. He has been backed. He's had a lot more backing than Pochettino. So I think it's a little bit. Listen, I hear what you're saying. Like we've. I know you're a massive lover of him as well, like Dan. I know you are, and I get what you're saying, but I do think that I haven't seen Pochettino challenge for a title yet. I know he's only been here for a year. This is the same Pochettino, by the way, that took his team to Middlesbrough and lost. Took a team to Chelsea in a semi-final and lost. Pochettino I don't think gets the credit that he deserved for me in those few years being an Arsenal fan. It weren't a very, very nice time.
I think, what? When you mentioned that, Lee, that game, I think that was a year where Tottenham finished on 91 points and I think Chelsea finished on 95. And that was the year where Chelsea didn't have Europe. And everyone knows when you play in Europe, it stretches your squad. And I always wondered what if then, and I think there was a stat, Tottenham would have won the league 12 out of 20 years if they had finished on 91 points. And you're right. I remember that game and it was a comfortable win and you had a good side then, it's always, and look, I'm on an Arsenal channel, so I'm going to get a lot of abuse here, but you didn't win anything, but you didn't. And I get that. I understand that, but it was a very, very good team. But Conte's obsessed with fullbacks. Now he's got Ivan Perisic, who's very, very good. On the right-hand side, that's where Tottenham struggle. And I do think when you talk about that side, Dan, with Kyle Walker and Danny Rose as a 21-year-old back then, they could have done something devastating. But great. Tottenham, they've never really replaced Christian Eriksen. And I heard someone on the radio on TalkSport when Eriksen joined United, and they said, "Cool, I don't think that's going to get Man United fans that excited." And I said to the person in the seat, "He'll win United's Player of the Year," and I stand by that. He's that good. I think
he's quality.
They had Tottenham had Dembele then as well. Kane and Son, they still had, and Dele Alli was firing, and now he's in Turkey. That's we could talk for hours about that. But but I mean, looking at it for Saturday, rolling it to Saturday, I think both sides have got very good teams. My challenge to Arsenal would be, if there's a few injuries and when Europe coming up, does that squad have enough Thursday, Sunday? That's where I'd question it going forward.
I think both of those questions for both teams as well, for me. I think when you look at it, have Tottenham's got the strength in depth? I think they have in certain positions. Have Arsenal got the strength in depth? I think we have in a couple of positions, but I really worry if those other positions do get injured for Arsenal. I really do. Lee, going into this game, mate, we're top of the league. We've got the momentum, and Tottenham haven't lost yet. So I think this will be a cracker, and I think this will be a really good game. Do you think it's really early in the season, do you think there's any pressure on either kind of team if one of them loses? And then the other way around to that, if Arsenal or Tottenham were to win, would that be a huge statement, or is it just way too early in the league for that to be the case?
I'm going to be really honest. I think there's more pressure on Arsenal for this one. And I think that if Spurs were to lose this game, they look at it and go, well, we've got points at Chelsea, we've got points at West Ham, gone to a couple of difficult places. It isn't that great. Arsenal, by the other hand, have not had an easy run. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not having that. I'm not buying into that. Going to Brentford away.
Got to beat what's in front of you, Lee. Got to beat what's in front of you.
Got to beat what's in front of you. And so, but for Arsenal to lose that game at home would be a big blow after losing to Man United. And when we got Liverpool coming up the following week. So I think from an Arsenal point of view, I think that this is a real important game. And I think a statement game to lay a marker, because I'm going to say it now. I don't care what anybody says. Arsenal at the minute are playing the best football in the league. They're better than Man City at this moment in time. They're playing really, really well. I've never gone, and I mean this sincerely, to a game away from home and be as relaxed against the Brentford game when Arsenal were winning titles. I was always, they nick one here, they nick one, with a bit, but we totally dominated the game from start to finish. Now, people say it's Brentford, whatever, I don't care. Any team you dominate in a Premier League is a good thing. We was in total control of that. It's the best Arsenal team I've seen for a very, very long while. But what it has got to do now is it's got to deliver. And I think that interesting what Michael's saying there. I think there's going to be pressure on Mikel at some stage of this season. Whether if he continues to do what he's doing, fine. But if he was to lose to Tottenham, then lose to Liverpool, we're probably going in at about 6th or 7th in the league, and then you're going into there'd be pressure. So I think this is more important for Arsenal to win this game. I think that if Spurs lose this game, right, they can dust it off. They're away from home. First defeat in 9, is it? Like, we're still in the top 3 or 4. They've got a couple of home games coming up after. I think they've got Brighton next week. So I think that they'll win that one. I think that both teams, by the way, have got some really, really tricky games in October. Some real tough games. So I think that for us, it's because it's at home. I think that even if you lose, if it was at Tottenham this season, I'll be honest, we lost to Man United. We can dust that one down. Man United's away from home, whatever, So I think Tottenham would be able to do that. So I do think it's more important for us. I think we've got to win because we've got to continue what we're doing. But I also think it is a little bit of a statement thing for Arsenal. This is, I really do. I think we've got people are believing. Neutrals are thinking, this is the real Arsenal. So nail it. Tell them that statement. Yeah, look, they've just gone and beat. I'm not saying that they are. They've just gone and beat they've backed up beating Brentford 3-0 by winning 2-0 against Tottenham. They're the real deal. I think that we've got to do that at the moment. Yeah, are they not? Big game for Arsenal this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think if you go into a Man United game and then a Tottenham game, if we end up losing both of those, people are going to go, they can't beat the big team C. So I think you're right 100%. There, Lee. I think you're right there. Michael, let me ask you, what are your thoughts going into this one as far as Arsenal are concerned? Tottenham coming up against top of the league on form. And what have you made of the job Arteta's doing at Arsenal at the moment?
I actually totally agree with Lee. I mean, everything seems to be going well at Arsenal at the moment. But if 2:30 p.m. it's Arsenal 1, Tottenham 2, I think the euphoria and all the good feeling, a big chunk of it will go. You not only you've lost to your big rivals, but it's a home defeat. Usually the home team over the last 7 to 8 years wins this derby unless it's a draw. Look, and this is not banter or anything like that, but you threw away a really good lead in May, and Tottenham, that 3-0 defeat was a bad defeat. And I said to friends of mine, look, they've still got Newcastle on the Monday, and Newcastle, they had nothing to play for. And again, you didn't turn up. And that is not acceptable, some of those players. And I was stunned by that. Tottenham were great that night, and Gary Neville said actually it was the best atmosphere he's seen in Premier League in years. So I think Arsenal owe Tottenham one, really. In terms of Arteta, I think he's had time, and I think it's a big season for him. And you have to say, and it is early, but if they don't get in the top 4 this season, it's a big disappointment because he's had backing. But saying that, I like the players he's brought in. I like the team. I think Ben White can consider himself unlucky not getting in the England squad. Okay, fine, he's playing right back, but even so, it's a poor central defence. And we talked about Haaland playing for England, and I still don't think they win the World Cup because of the defence. I look, I look, if Partey's out, that's a big miss on Saturday. It could be won and lost in that midfield. I question the strength of Arsenal in that midfield when Partey's not there. My other challenge to Arsenal this season would be, they're always good at beating the teams they should beat. It's time to go and beat a Liverpool. It's time to go and beat a City at home. Tottenham did the double over City last year, and they were so resilient away. It's time that Arsenal don't go to these teams and accept a 3 or 4-0. Those days of Arsenal should be over. There's no reason why Arsenal can't go to Liverpool and win, in my opinion. City, different kettle of fish. They've gone another level. But Arsenal, you're absolutely right. Yes, they had an all right set of fixtures, but I looked because Palace were in. Vieira took Palace under 23s to Australia because a lot of the players were unfit or some weren't vaxxed. A lot of them stayed behind. So Palace's pre-season was pretty mucked up. Arsenal played the same team that they played in pre-season. Arsenal looked ready to go, and they deserve to win that. And they've won the games they should be winning. It doesn't give them the right to say they're going to win. They've gone out and done well and deserve to win those games. But I just want to see more against the so-called tougher sides, and to get a few wins out of them. Because I think, as you guys have seen from away matches over the last few years, it's like a 3-0 Liverpool or a 4-0. And it shouldn't be like that anymore. Like United away, I know you massively missed Partey, but you've got a good team now. You've got a very, very good team. And we talk about comparing, and you mentioned Richarlison. I said to someone, Richarlison's perfect for Tottenham. Jesus is perfect for Arsenal. And that is all it is. And look how well Jesus is doing. And he's such a mellow guy. I said to him in Orlando, are you glad to be in the number 9, the main guy? He said, I'm not the main guy. I'm just an Arsenal squad member. And I've got to prove myself. Fair play to him. He speaks very well. So, 2 very good sides. And it's going to be a good game. Really, it's always going to be a good game. Always going to be a good game.
Just what I was saying, that it's a great point. I don't think it's necessarily that important because you've got no divine right to go to Liverpool and win. You've got no divine right to go to Tottenham and win. No divine right to go to Man City win. But you have at home. Yeah. And we've not beaten Man City at home for I don't know how long. We've not beaten Liverpool. Tottenham have. Then they've gone and beaten Man City at home. They've gone and got results against Liverpool. Yeah. We lose at home, and that's what make that Emirates a fortress. That's where we go now. We beat Tottenham, and then they don't say, "Oh, we beat Tottenham and lose to Liverpool." No, we go and then the next week and we beat Liverpool and go even more points in front of them, and then we push on from there. And I agree with it. If we were to go to Manchester City and Liverpool and lose 2-1, we put in a brilliant fight. I would say I'd be happy with it, but you could go right. I'll take that. We lost to Man United.
Do you think, Lee, as well? If we beat, let's say we beat Spurs and Liverpool at home, no one's saying Arsenal are title contenders. I agree with that. Do you think some people might think we were if we were to get 2 wins against those 2 at home? Do you think people might think actually they might be serious here?
Flip it round, Dan.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah, flip it round. For me, that's Liverpool out of the title race. Because
that's a great point. So
you look at it that way, and then all of a sudden, whether Arsenal are in the title race or not, Liverpool have got in serious trouble getting in that top 4. Because I think someone said to me the other day, "Who do you reckon will get in the top 4, Tottenham or Arsenal?" I said, "Hold on, what about both?"
Yeah. I've got both. I've got both for coming in top 4.
Oh, this is it, and this is why I think Arsenal need to. They can beat. People say, "Oh, Liverpool. Oh, you're Diaz. Oh, all right, Martinelli, Saka. good players.
Yeah, I think you make great points there.
That's a great. I didn't think of it like that, but it is a great point because, Liverpool would be what I don't know how many points they're off of Man City now. Say if they're 4 or 5, but they could be like 8 or 9. You can't give Man City an 8 or 9 point start.
No. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, 100% agree. Lee, let's stick with you, man. Tottenham say this is a different Tottenham side from last year at the Emirates because they had Nuno Santos, but what also it is a different Arsenal side in two ways. It's a different Arsenal side because of our new signings, but it's also a different Arsenal side to the one that played them at White Hart Lane only a few months ago. There's no Cedrics, there's no Holdings, no El Nenis, no Eddie Nketiahs. We have got what we believe to be a really good side at the moment. So I want to ask you about the team news on that weekend and what team you're expecting Arsenal to put out, Lee.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do think that Arsenal's 4 signings have really improved. Like 3/1 with Saliba, like 4 signings have really improved Arsenal. There's been a massive, massive uplift. We went to Spurs last season, hoping that Eddie would do the business, But now we've got Jesus, who we know can do the business. There's a difference. He will frighten Tottenham. I don't care what anybody says. He will frighten Tottenham. I don't think Eddie can frighten Tottenham in that same way. If you're a centre half Romero or you think, I'm up against Eddie today. No disrespect to Eddie, but I'm going to get a good 8 hours sleep here, But with Jesus, you may be thinking, I might wake up in a cold sweat. So I don't know, So I think that is a big thing. I think Thomas Partey, as Michael said earlier on, that's a massive if he plays or he don't, I don't think it bodes well that you come off a week ago on a warm-up to then be playing the following week. You ain't going to be 100% fit. But I'll tell you what, I'll take a 90% fit Partey over a 100% fit Lokonga. I'll be honest with you. That's where Arsenal, I think, will foul. I think Arsenal's first 11 is as good as anything in the Premier League, but it's what comes up behind it. There's too much of a gap. There's too much of a drop-off between Partey and the next one. Tottenham haven't got that. If Højbjerg don't play this game, they've got Basuma comes in. There's not a massive drop. That is our problem. But I think that, listen, Saliba and Gabriel, I'll be happy with that. Ben White, I think that Tierney will probably play if fit. That's a solid back 4, guys. I don't care what anybody says. Ramsdale behind that. That's good enough there. Partey and it will be Saka. Let's be honest. Shaka's been outstanding so far this season. Odegaard's played in the games for Norway, so he's fit. Front 3 takes care of itself. That is as good enough to beat anybody. Where I do feel we lack a little bit is what game changers. I think if you look at Tottenham, they might have a couple more game changers than us on that. I think you might think I'm silly on this, but Smith Rowe being out, I think is a massive blow for us because if a Martinelli comes off the team or a Saka comes off the pitch, Smith Rowe coming on there, there's arguments that he's as good as if not better. So that's the thing there. So I do believe that Vieira is going to be very, very important for us now, and I'm hoping that Marquinhos is going to be what I would say
surprise.
Yeah, a real surprise package. And if he can be, then I think that we'll be okay. But if that 11 takes the pitch on Saturday, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, fair play to you. I would be as well. The only one I would suggest is what we do in a fullback, because for me, I would rather have Tierney than Zinchenko defensively, and I would rather have Tomiyasu than Ben White at fullback. But I think it will be Ben White and Zinchenko if they're both fit. Tierney, I think, had a head injury, but I believe he's okay. Partey, they're saying, from what I hear, is okay. Odegaard, likewise, apparently is okay. So it's looking like it's just Smith Rowe and El Neni that's going to be a doubt for Arsenal. So we should have the similar 11 that we had against Brentford, which will be good news for the Gooners. But Michael, Tottenham have got some injury problems or doubts, so to speak. So what have you heard, mate?
Come on, spill the beans.
Well, I was at the press conference today, and Lloris has been a doubt for the last few weeks. He's got a bit of a thigh problem. That'd be a massive blow. I mean, honestly, Tottenham are going to really miss him when he leaves. Honestly, I know he makes a few mistakes, but he makes some unsavable saves sometimes. Yeah. So he'd be a big loss. Kulusevski's a doubt. He's picked up a muscle problem. Played 90 minutes for Sweden, and he has a muscle problem. Brilliant. So I think that if Kulusevski is missing, there's a temptation that Tottenham could go with a midfield 3 and Basuma goes into that 3. I'd be tempted to do that anyway if Partey is fit. So this is going to be a real game of chess between Arteta and Conte because I just worry about Tottenham in a midfield 2 if Partey plays. When Basuma came on the other day against Leicester, they just ran riot, Spurs, and Son just got a 12-minute hat-trick. So then so people say, Richarlison will play, then I'm not so sure, to be honest. He was a bit sketchy as well, Conte, on potentially others. So it might happen with Arsenal as well. I admit I don't always, obviously, don't feel it like you guys do. But, when you pick your 11 in the pub and you're like, this is what it's going to be. Then you get the team news. You're like, oh, what's happened to him? He's out. There's
it's
always
deflated
there's
a bit.
Always one you've not heard of. So also got to take into account that Romero, who's our best defender by a country mile, he only flew back late yesterday from playing in America for Argentina. So, they're millionaires, but jet lag. So, we have to wait and see. So I know a few Arsenal players didn't play for their national sides, whether that's a hindrance or a help at this stage of the season. We'll wait and see because it's going to be a rip-roaring 95 minutes, isn't it? So,
When Conte's in that press conference, is he cagey?
Like, it's just funny. He always says that they go on too long, but he's the one who gives 2-3 minute answers. So, I've had a good few one-to-ones with him, and I find him so engaging and interesting. But it's the team I support. But whereas Mikel, he's very, very, very intelligent, Mikel, but he doesn't give anything really away, does he? He doesn't say a lot, but then he can sort of say something out of not really go for it, So, we'll wait and see what he says tomorrow because there's loads to go at. But I'm sure all Arsenal fans will be looking forward to hearing the team news because I think Partey really seems to be the key for me in terms of Arsenal fans. If he plays, the confidence goes right up. You just hope for Arsenal fans, it was feel my knee a little bit there. I better not play on this pitch against Brazil. It's a friendly. So, but the only thing I would say is as well, yes, it's Tottenham, but it's October and there's like 9 games in about 3.5 weeks. So do you want to risk Partey on a 75% and then he gets injured and he's out for 6 weeks? So it's a tough one for these managers because if Kulusevski has got a little bit of a hamstring strain, well, they're playing on Tuesday in Germany, then they've got Brighton Saturday, then Man United. It is the North London derby, but it is still just 3 points. You don't want your best players out for 6 weeks. So, in a funny way, I'm not discrediting anything what anyone's done yet, but the season kind of starts now in a way, or stage 2. And it is honestly, everyone watching this, look at the fixtures coming up. It's a relentless October. Relentless. And the table could be completely different by the end of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think like 9 games in October, it's going to be mad now. It's in the World Cup. It's going to be at least 2 games a week for everyone, really. It's absolutely crazy. I want to do this before we start going to some comments in the chat and getting score predictions at the end of the show. What I want to do is ask you this. Who is the most important Arsenal player? So me and Lee can answer that. And Michael will be who's the most important Tottenham player. And who do you worry about the most on the other side? I'll go first. I think the most important. Everyone's going to think it's Jesus. I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to go Martin Ødegaard, and the reason I'm going to go Martin Ødegaard in this one, not just because he's leader and captain, etc. If Tottenham set up with that 2, we've got a creative midfielder. Tottenham don't have a creative midfielder. Now, I understand they create differently with Kane and Son, and you don't really need creative midfielders when you've got those 2 elite strikers. But my point is, I think Martin Ødegaard is going to find some space to get on the ball here. And I think we're going to need him to be on fire for us to take 3 points. And I really hope that he started so well that we get that. And obviously, the player that I'm worried about, I can't pick anybody but Harry Kane, because the guy scores in every North London derby pretty much that we ever play. So, of course, I'm going to go Harry Kane. I know Son's great. I know you've got some great players. If Kulusevski starts, which we believe he's out injured, but if he was to start, I'd worry about him. But I would still go with Harry Kane, So he holds the record for the most goals in a North London derby. He loves a goal against Arsenal. And it means so much to him still when he does score in that fixture. So I'd, of course, say Harry Kane. But I really feel that Ødegaard can have, if he has a good game here for Arsenal, I think we could take 3 points. Lee, I'll flip it to you next. Who do you think's the most dangerous for Tottenham, and who's most important player on the weekend for Arsenal?
I think most Spurs fans would say Harry Kane. You know, I always feel what he can do and all that. Like, you know, he'll either be, he can be in games like this, he can be quiet, you know, and then he comes and just nicks a goal. He's that sort of player, or he can be very, very dominant, like, you know. So I'm going to have to say him. And for me, Thomas Partey. I think if Thomas Partey plays, I think that we're a different team in midfield. I think he's one of those players. It's never quite. I don't think it gets the credit it deserves when you're that midfield player and you take the ball in very, very dangerous positions and play from there, like, and he makes it look easy, like, you know. And I think that if he plays, I think that we can dominate the midfield a little bit there, especially if they go. I'm with Michael on this. I think Basuma are a player. I think that they're player free in there, because if they don't play a free, I think that we can. That's where we're overrun them, and Partey will be very, very pivotal to that if he's playing.
Fair play. That's a great shout as well in terms of Thomas Partey. Michael, what's your thoughts, mate?
I have to agree. I think Thomas Partey is the key in this, really, because I just haven't seen enough of Lokonga, but I saw a little bit of him in pre-season, and I've seen a couple of games, and there's a gap there. And you know, so but as an Arsenal fan, you need Partey to be less injury prone. You know, he's had a few bad ones, hasn't he? So that's been the worry, really. But got to give William Saliba credit, to be honest with you. I spent a bit of time with him out in Orlando, and I hate the like a new signing phrase, because he's been at the club for a couple of years. But he is a new signing, isn't he, to an extent? Because he's the first time you've seen him, and I think he's settled in really well. And look, I've got this horrible dread in my head that I'm going to watch a YouTube video, and the caption is Lee. Kane was in Saliba's pocket, and I'm going to be like that, you know. But yeah, I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say Partey and Harry Kane. He's got, I think he's got the highest record in North London derbies. Yeah. You know, so you can't, banter aside, he's still Tottenham's most dangerous player. But look, Odegaard, I think, he for some reason, I was asking Mikel in all pre-season, is he your captain? No decision yet. It was clear he was going to be your club captain, and I think he's taken it on board really well. And some players being captain at big clubs, it's sometimes there's too much expectancy and worry, and and they need to let the football do the talking. But he's kind of done both. He's taken it on well. So yeah, I'd go with Partey. But you've got some very good players, and people say pre-season doesn't really matter, but it does, because you kept the same 11 for the last few weeks after that, and it was a settled 11.
I think that was the key.
Yeah, and when Arsenal beat Chelsea out in Orlando, Chelsea, they've got a new manager now, and they looked so knackered, and they didn't look right. Everyone goes on about Conor Gallagher, who I like. He doesn't look right there. And Jesus looked. He didn't start the season as a new signing because he'd already been at the club for a good 5 to 6 weeks, and that was so important to get him in early. And he's going to be a major threat. And obviously the Brazil-Argentina rivalry with Romero, he's going to love to get one over on him. And as much as I like Romero, as I mentioned earlier, he's only probably had one full training session by the time the game comes around. It doesn't matter how flying is draining. So that would be a concern for me as well. But look, it's going to be a really, really tough game. And as a Tottenham fan, I'd take a draw now.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Listen, we've got a couple of super chats. First one comes from Samuel in Durango, who's talking about Turkish, saying that he's a disgrace for voting for Kulusevski ahead of Saka in the debate on AFTV. But listen, it's combined 11s, and we've already mentioned that one. But the other one comes in from Chaitanya, who says that the Smith Rowe injury has me concerned. We needed him and a minimum of 2 players in January anyway. Should we now be looking into another winger? And this October may reveal our depth issues. It's a good one to kind of finish on, really, in terms of the depth and what that means for Arsenal and Tottenham moving forward. I'll come to both of you, but Lee, do you think that's going to be our downfall, or do you think we're going to get away with it?
I think we might just get away with it because Vieira can play there and Marquinhos maybe. I think that we could get away with it. But I'm a big Smith Rowe fan, as you know. I really like him, and I think he's sort of gone at the injury has been playing him. What really pisses me off a little bit. He hardly played. He didn't play in America, did he, Michael? He weren't. He was out there. Didn't play. Yeah. Didn't play in there, but hardly played. So there was this problem with him. Why don't they get it sorted then? I don't. That's my thing. I mean, I don't know what's gone wrong there, but like, you know, look, they're going to get it sorted, and he's going to be like a new signing in January. But like, we need to strengthen in certain areas, and maybe they knew that this could be happening with him. That's why they was looking for something there. Like, but listen, there's a lot of pressure now, I think, on one of the young guns to come through, and that's what it's got to be. Vieira, I think, looked very, very good against Brentford, can play in all sorts of different positions, so he could cover it. The problem for me is with the Smith Rowe injury is that when it comes to playing now on Thursday, one of our big guns has got to play, because, you know, like the last game, Martinelli had to play. Because, you know, realistically, Smith Rowe would have played that game and given him a break. So that's where my problem lies with that. And that's where, you know, like Marquinhos probably play on the right-hand side in that game. Eddie, and then who do you play on that left-hand side? And that's my problem.
Yeah, I think you're right there, mate. And, you know, we have got a little bit of strength and depth in some areas, but we are really weak and thin in other areas of the side. Michael, what about yourself? Do you think Spurs have got enough as a squad to compete in the competitions this season, or do you think they're still short in a couple of positions?
I think they're maybe one centre-half short. No one's really sold on the right wing back, Emerson Royal. You know, Conte has always said in press conferences that Jed Spence was a club signing, not a him signing. I would have loved a bit more creativity in the middle, but Conte doesn't play that way. But, you know, like a James Maddison, you know, who should be in the England squad. You know, he should be in the England squad. But, you know, I do think Spurs, maybe a little bit of plan B sometimes, someone a bit more creative. But as I say, the importance for Conte is those wing backs, and Perisic has been a good signing. So I think the forward line, they look good. Centre half, I reckon, maybe, and another attack-minded central midfielder. But yeah, I think all squads will wait and see. But I honestly think Arsenal will go for another central midfielder in January. You know, they left it a little bit late with Douglas Luiz, but I'd be stunned if they didn't go for another central midfielder. I really do. I think they'll go for one for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumours of Danilo over in Brazil, from what I'm hearing, and I don't know much about him, but all I know is that he's going to the Brazil international team as the only one outside of Europe, from what I'm being told. So he's obviously got something about him, this kid. So let's see what happens there. I guess Edu's got some links with him, and obviously has been scouting him and watching him. So it might be that we go in for him, from what I'm being told. The Douglas Luiz and the Tielemans ones, I think, you know, there may be a chance to get cut price deals in January because their contracts are up at the end of the season, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But certainly for me, yeah, I think we're short in midfield. I will say, when you were linked with Maddison and Bastoni, I was starting to panic. I'm not going to lie. I was starting to panic, thinking this is a serious...
Yeah, you had me worried.
Oh, my God.
Someone told me very early on when he was linked that wasn't the case. So I was pretty gutted, if I'm honest with you. Bastoni is one that could be revisited. He was just a young lad who just loves playing for his club. So, but that, I think what happens with Tottenham now is if someone they really, really want, they'll try again in 6 months. I mean, they've, you know, Edu, he's settled in well. Not settled in well, but he gets on really well with Arteta and the structure. And Fabio Paratici gets on really well with Daniel Levy and Conte. So, you know, you've got to get that structure right. And they're not scattergun. They're not going to go for third or fourth choice defenders. So they loaned in Clement Lenglet from Barcelona, who's very good on the ball. And you know, someone said to me, "Oh, what, Barcelona reserve?" I'm like, look, if Conte wanted a snail, I'd accept it. It's up to Conte. He wanted him, you know, and he started well. So, you know, if Conte wants him, who's to say I don't? You know, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, but look, every club wants another player. Everyone wants, like deadline day, everyone wants one player, don't they? So, but, you know, talking about deadline day, I think those days of like big deals, loads of big deals on the final day, they're over, because clubs are much more savvy and they think way ahead. And as Edu said, you know, I think you can catch Arsenal fans, if you haven't seen it, it's still on YouTube, and he talks about the structure of transfers and deals and stages of clubs. And Edu said this was the year they really were and are targeting the top four, and last year would have been a year ahead. So yeah, you know, we'll wait and see in January, but I think Arsenal will strengthen in January for sure.
The days of signing Arshavin in February of the January transfer window are done. I'll never forget that one. Absolutely crazy. Boys, let's get some score. Yeah, it wasn't it, in the snow? Yeah. Let's get some score predictions from you. I'm really interested to know this one. Michael, we'll start with you, man. What are you going for this weekend?
Look, I mean, this is a completely different side from last season in the Emirates. Different man. I mean, this is a tough Tottenham team, but Arsenal have got it in them to. If someone said to me, Arsenal go 2 up in 6 minutes, Jesus 1 minute and Saka on the 5th, it wouldn't surprise me because I just know how much Arsenal want this, especially after May. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, but I think Arsenal might just nick this one 2-1. But as I said earlier as well, I'd be very happy with a draw because they remain unbeaten, and that's another really tough away game penciled out. But it's a big game for Arsenal, this, because they've got to keep this sort of run going, and the feel-good factor. If their big rivals beat them at the Emirates, then I don't know. All of a sudden, it's like, come on, Mikel, that's a bad result. But saying that, I think Arsenal might scrape it 2-1.
Fair enough. I hope you're right. Judges, what are you going for?
I'm going. I think there'll be top, but I think there'll be goals in this one. So I'm going Arsenal 3, Tottenham 2. But I think it'll be a really good game, and I think it'll be a good game, and I think that it'll be end to end, and I'm not going to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm with you. I've said 3-2 as well all week. Well, for the last 2 weeks, I've been sitting there waiting for this one, it seems. But I'm going 3-2 Arsenal. I do think it'll be we score 1, they score 1. I really do. I don't see either of these sides going 2-0 up. I don't see that happening. I think it'll be a real sort of cracker, and I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, it's like going to the dentist, isn't it? You just want it to be over and know that it's going to right. Do you know what I mean? I just hate this fixture, man, but I love it at the same time. A lot of guys saying 2-2 in the chat, 3-2. A lot of people I've spoken to think this one's going to be a draw and that both teams will cancel each other out. So this one is just, you can never predict it. Form goes out the window, all that kind of stuff. It's always a cracking game, and it's one that I'll definitely look forward to. So it'll be great to see what happens. Michael, I've got to say a huge thank you to you, man, for coming on.
Yeah, cheers, Michael. Appreciate you coming on. Been fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, man. Lee, enjoyed that, mate, as always. I will see you at the weekend for the game. I'll be there with you. And let's hope that Arsenal can take 3 points and keep this run going. Big up everybody in the chat. Smash a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we will see you next time, guys. Take care. We're out.